and gentlemen, welcome to the main event. Let's get ready to rumble!
I forgot to tell, thank you Rika, I forgot to tell Rika to, I have a slight intro just to put everyone in the mood. So, I don't know if it will work, but just to make sure that everybody knows where we are and what we're about to listen to, and in what context we discuss this topic. And so the Pacman still packed the crowd in the English conference, and rightly so. So we shall begin. This is the Philippines Pride. The Philippine champion, also known as the Pambansang Kamao or the National Fist. He has graced the cover of Time magazine, only the second Filipino following former President Cory Aquino. He has achieved what no other boxer has ever achieved, which is to win 7 titles in 7 different divisions, which has earned him the popular title of the #1 pound-for-pound boxer in the world, as given by The Ring magazine. And the oft-touted observation is that on the day of his fight, crime rate plummets in the Philippines because the nation seems to be all glued to their screens, cheering for his every punch and celebrating in his victory in the end. And I am a personal witness to this, as it is the only day that my husband willfully ignores me as he watches Manny Pacquiao's fight. His popularity has soared so high that he has appeared in numerous international TV shows for interviews and guest appearances. The most recent of which is on Before the Cotto fight on Weekend Alive, a popular TV talk show in the US. And it is interesting to read through the comments after watching this particular guest appearance on this show on YouTube. It seems that some of us are still very fixated on how Manny speaks in English, how he uses the language and his grammatical flaws. One comment says that the person is embarrassed and it feels kind of funny, but the comment is always quick to note that the Manny is still the best in his field and he rocks and he's still the Philippines pride. One comment will show that there is an awareness for the triviality of fighting about accents and perfect English. But this comment also seems to reflect some of our attitudes about speaking proper English, or our expectations of people who speak good English. If you are from a third world country, if you do not come from a well-off family, if you did not receive quality education, then you can be forgiven not being able to speak very good English. What does that say? But so Manny is a boxer and not a linguist, and so long live Manny. Others, though, would carry the view that it is his attitude and not put so much emphasis on his grammatical weaknesses, and they see and put premium on his fearlessness. And it is this kind of attitude with which I approach this presentation. And it is not only your average viewer who seem to carry this kind of attitude towards Manny's communicative ability in English. You also have journalists commenting on this, as represented by John Nery, columnist of the national broadsheet Philippine Daily Inquirer and former teacher here in the Ateneo, when he writes, having covered this training camp once and followed his career assiduously, I must say that in fact I find Pacquiao's English both much improved and good from the start. An insight that I also agree with. He has never lacked for sense, even if that sense includes unusual tolerance for ingratiating politicians. And we know who we mean by that. His interview with HBO immediately after the Diaz fight, for example, hit the sweet spot. Gracious answers, but right to the point. Only those who value pronunciation over meaning and the occasional grammatical infelicity would have found it grating. A view that I strongly agree with. And perhaps we see that for some of us, we do measure Manny Pacquiao's communicative ability in English because of his lack of underlying knowledge for the accurate grammatical structures, what Canalian Swain would define as grammatical competence. But in what other aspects of competence has the Pac-Man demonstrated? I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. Has he demonstrated competence? And let's watch this interview.
Now, you look bigger than you've ever been, and you put on more weight after your weigh-in than you've ever been. It was rumored to be that you went up to 144 pounds, and there was concerns that you might be a little slower, which obviously wasn't the case. Was there any sort of struggle in making the weight this time?
You know, it's not hard to make my weight, you know. I want to balance how big Morales is, because he's big to me, and I don't want to look like I'm smaller than in the ring.
Okay, if we take a look at the transcript of that, Mario Lopez asks, after a very lengthy introduction, now you look bigger than you've ever been, and you put on more weight after you weigh in than you've ever been, and it was rumored that you went up to 144 pounds, and there was concerns that you might be a little bit slower, which wasn't obviously the case. Was there any sort of struggle in making the weight this time? We see some grammatical lapses as well, but we overlook that. Perhaps we are taken by his very clear pronunciation or his good looks. It doesn't matter. And then the Pac-Man's answer is right to the point. You know, it's not hard to make my weight. He answers the question directly. I want to balance, and gives us the reason for it. I want to be as big as Morales. I don't want to look small beside him in the ring. So in this interview, we see Manny Pacquiao again taking the definition of the 4 definitions of competence for Canalian Swain, demonstrating discourse competence, the ability to engage in meaningful conversation, to answer the interview question with relevance. Also, he also demonstrates strategic competence. I see his use of pauses and his popular expressions of "I mean" and "you know," to compensate for the breakdown while he organizes his thoughts simultaneously as the question is being asked. Let's look at another interview, the best one yet. This is always technical difficulty. May I ask, Ivory? Doesn't like you. I'm sorry again. While we're fixing this, because I have to show it in order to stress my point. Sorry. In this presentation, I maintain that it is in his after-fight interviews where we see him at his best in using the language as a most authentic context. If you will consider the factors in an after-fight interview where he comes only a few seconds after knocking out his opponent, and all the extra linguistic factors, and so the question of whether he was coached, whether somebody is whispering what he's supposed to say, if you can imagine the context of the noise and the crowd and the glare of the lights and everybody talking all at once, and Chavit Singson, the famous politician, trying to get a mugshot with him in the background, you know that it is a most unrehearsed context. And so the point of this presentation is really, it's the after-fight interviews where you see him at his most effective way of, or an example of the using English in an authentic context. I hope it works this time.